Hi, I'm Adrian Haverstadt, Director of Criminal Justice at Berkeley College and Director of the Evangelical Friends Church International. I'd like to speak with you about transforming communities through the work and ministry of the local church. The ultimate authority and source of power is Jesus Christ, but the church is his body on earth, his representative body on earth. He has entrusted believers with the task of continuing his work until he returns. As such, the church remains a vital and necessary part of the world at large. Today, I want to focus this time on the story of Esther. Just 10 chapters found in the Old Testament. And as we look at this book, I'd like for us to note how it serves as a guide for churches to use in the work of transforming their community. Esther's a woman. As director of the Evangelical Friends Church, I am proud to say that we value women in ministry and have a long history of recognizing and supporting women's leadership in our religious communities. In fact, Quakers, as friends are sometimes called, were one of the first Christian denominations to allow women to preach and hold leadership positions. In fact, the Friends movement in the United States of America started under the missionary work of women traveling from Great Britain to our mainland. We have a rich heritage of using women in ministry. We value them as God has valued them in leadership throughout the Bible. The belief in the equality of all people, regardless of gender or other factors, is a central tenet of the Evangelical Friends. Quaker women have been involved in ministry since the founding of the Society of Friends in the 17th century, and many predominant Quaker women have served as ministers and spiritual leaders. I live in the city of Haviland, Kansas, and it's named after a Quaker woman who did great things in terms of justice in her day. Today, many Friends congregations have women serving as pastors and elders and in other leadership positions. Women are also oftentimes invited to speak at Quaker meetings for worship, and their contributions are valued and respected by Evangelical Friends. Overall, Friends have had a strong tradition of valuing and empowering women in ministry. So it's with great joy I look at the book of Esther with you, because it's so much connected to the faith that I hold to, not only what I read in the Bible, but what we practice as Evangelical Friends around the world. So as we look at these 10 chapters from the book of Esther, it serves as a guide or a primer for us in terms of how to go about the transforming work of a community. In this book, we see Esther, a Jewish woman, rise to become the Queen of Persia. And throughout her time in leadership, she uses her position to save her people from genocide. Through her example, we, the church, can learn important lessons about how to create a community that is just, one that is compassionate, one that's inclusive, and one that is whole. The first way we can transform our community is by speaking out against injustice. Esther, in the story we read from these 10 chapters, risked her life by speaking up to King Xerxes about the plot to destroy the Jews. We too must be willing to speak out against the injustices that we see in our community, whether it be racism, poverty, or any other form of oppression. We must use our voices to advocate for those who are marginalized and oppressed. That wasn't an easy thing to do for Esther. In fact, her life was on the line by going to the king and speaking to him without being summoned by the king. Had he not acknowledged her in a favorable way, she would have lost her life. But she risked all of that to speak out against injustice. And we must be willing to take risks today in order to come against injustices and let our voice be heard. The The second way we can transform our community is by building relationships across the lines of differences today. That's something God has called the church to do, to be no respecter of persons, to love each one as equal. All is level at the foot of the cross. All are equal in the presence of the Lord. That should be the vision and the mindset of the church today. So we need to be building relationships across lines that are usually divisive and have clear lines of demarcation in society today. But that should not exist for the church. In the book of Esther, we see Esther and her cousin Mordecai, both Jews, forming alliances with people from other ethnic and religious groups. We too must be willing to reach out to those who are different from us and build bridges of understanding and compassion. By doing so, we can create a community that values diversity and promotes unity. I wonder today, is your church reaching out to different people groups around you? Are you seeking to build relationship with them? Are you getting to know them? Are you hearing what concerns they have and things that they may need and how we can address those needs? Have you reached out to them to hear what injustices they assume or perceive in their life and in their family and such? That is the role of the church, to be the first to initiate such relationships and to build those relationships across lines of diversity. The third way we can transform our community is by using our resources and influence for the greater good. Esther used her position as a queen to save her people from genocide, and we too can use our own resources and influence to make a positive difference in our community, whether it be through volunteering, donating to charities, or for advocating for policy changes. We all have the ability to make a difference. And together, as we incorporate as the body of Christ, as a local church, or working together with other local churches, we can have a voice and we can have influence and we can bring resources forward to bring about change and to set things right, to establish justice in our community. Fourth, we can transform our community by seeking wisdom and guidance from God. Esther fasted and prayed before approaching the king. She sought God's guidance and intervention. She asked for his favor. And we too must seek the wisdom and guidance and favor from God as we work to transform our communities. Through prayer, through reflection and study, through conversations with other believers, we can discern a path forward and find the strength and courage we need to act and make a difference in society today. Together, we can follow Esther's example by speaking out against injustice, building relationships across lines of differences. We can use our resources and influence for the greater good of all and seek wisdom and understanding from God. We can be agents of transformation in our community, working to create a world where all are treated with dignity and respect and compassion, where all people are whole according to God's original design and will for today. People being made whole is the fullness of God's salvation, and we should be agents of that good news. Let's make it happen together.